So now that we have finished exploring our data, I've performed an exploratory data analysis, we can now see some of the insights which we have. The next thing we're going to do now is to make our report presentable to the audience or those that are going to be viewing this particular report. So first of all, now what we are going to do, let us apply conditional formatting on this percentage growth. So also apply conditional formatting so that the highest value can be that is we can sort the highest value by colors with the lowest value and also the average or the middle values. So if you want to apply conditional formatting now, you just click on this particular visual. So once you click on the visual, you come to your percentage growth here, you click on this drop down and you can now see conditional formatting. So you can apply various form of conditional formatting. You can either apply conditional formatting as background color or as font color as data bar. So let us apply background color and see how it looks like. I'm going to click on background color. You can now see it is telling me that do I want it to be from a that is light shade of blue to a darker shade of blue. You can see it. And if I also want to add a middle color, I can also add a middle color. So now let me just add a middle color. You can also customize some of these values, and I'm going to click on OK. So you can now see now my conditional formatting has already been applied. So let me see if my column is actually sorted by percentage growth is that, and I want it to be sort descending so that the highest value will be at the top. Can you see it now? And don't forget that the filter on Australia and that of 2021 is currently applied on it. So you can see it now that the highest value is having a blue color, while other values which are lower than the highest value are having something like a green color. Then we also have other shades of lighter green, as you are seeing it. So till you go down, you can see that the lesser the number, the lighter the color becomes. So this is how you can apply a background color. So what if I want to remove the conditional formatting? I can just click on this drop down and go to conditional formatting. I can click on remove conditional formatting, and I will just click on all. So you can actually apply more than one conditional formatting. So I can just go to my percentage growth, click on drop down, click on conditional formatting. I can apply based on font color. So applying it now based on font color. So applying it now based on font color now, you can see that the font color is actually what is going to be changed. So let me add a middle color, then I'll click on OK. So you can now see that the font color has also changed. I can also apply a background color together with this. It is just based on your own decision. You can apply more than one conditional formatting. Just click on it and click on conditional formatting. I can apply data bars. So data bars are actually going to be showing you bars, something like a bar plot, a bar plot or a bar graph. And I'm going to click on OK. You can see my positive bar is having a blue color. Negative bar is having a lighter blue color, a sky blue color. You can see my bar direction left to right. Then I'm going to click on OK. So you can now see my bar direction. So now let me just clear the conditional formatting by clicking on all, or let me just clear for that of the data bars. Okay, since I'm interested in the background, let me just clear for all. I can now click on my drop down and go to add conditional formatting, then background color, because that's the kind of conditional formatting I want to apply. Then add a middle color, then OK. So this is the conditional formatting we are going to be leaving currently now selected. There's actually a visual which you actually left out. So this is like the card visual. So for example, now I'm just going to click on my empty canvas and click on, you can see it here, the card visual. So the card visual just takes a particular field and I'm going to put in my revenue there. So here I'm going to be seeing my total revenue. Can you see it? So if I click on Australia now, I can see the total revenue of Australia. If I click on 2021, I can see the total revenue of 2021. Can you see it now? So this is the card revenue. So we're also going to be using this particular visual inside our report. So now the next thing now I'm also going to be customizing now is going to be this particular card revenue that you're looking at now. So I'm going to be changing it to a gauge. You can see a gauge visual. So now you can see a gauge visual. So sum of revenue, you can see it. Our sum of revenue currently now, this is it. So one thing with the gauge visual, why we are choosing the gauge visual, because we want to be seeing and compare it with our target. So our target is going to be the previous year. So if I select Australia or select 2021, I want to be able to know that am I meeting up with our target. And how do you now set this target? This is where I'm now going to go to format your visual, and under format your visual now you can see various options of customizing this particular visual. So I can see my colors. If I want to change the colors, I can see my gauge axis, I can see my data labels. So you can see I can just change this to 10. You can see I'm going to change this to particular 10. This is the values under the data labels. You can also see my target label. So I want my target label to be on. So this is it. I can also change it to be 10. So now it's going to now be the color of my target label. I'm going to make it black. And I've not also given the value of my target label, so that's why you not see any. You're not seeing any indication of my target label here. So let me go back to add data to your visual, and under this particular target value here, I'm going to be bringing previous year sales. So once I bring previous year sales here, you can see the mark. So this is the previous year sales of 18.42 million. So which means we are what? We passed this particular target of 18.42 million, and our 2021 sales was 29.13 million. So this is for Van Hazel, Australia in the year 2021. You can see. So I can also uncheck that of Australia to view for other. Let me just click on uncheck that of Australia. Oh, it says I already selected a particular product here. So let me just go up my dream mode up. So this is it. Let me just leave it my category like this. So let me just select for USA now. So you can see for USA our target. You can see our target here 326.98. You can now see our current. That is our 2020. This is what we had earlier on. Okay, let me just select 2020 under USA. So you can see the year 2020 target was 99.93 million, and we beat that target. Our 2020 revenue was 108.18 million. So this is how you can use this gauge visual. So this is what we are going to be using for our gauge visual now. So under format your visual, there are also other options which you can set. It depends on just what you want or the preference or how you want your audience to be able to view your report. So this is it for the gauge visual. So now the next now we're going to go to now, we're going to be going to our sum of revenue by country. So these are our sum of revenue by country which you are looking at currently now. So you can actually see that our sum of revenue by country is actually showing in $1 billion. So this is not easy to read or easy to understand. I want this to be easy to our audience to be able to easily understand this. So I'm going to be changing this particular metrics from billion to I'm going to be changing it to million. So I'm going to click on it, which I've already done, and I'm going to go to my format your visuals, and there are various options of actually customizing it. So I'm going to go to my data labels. So I'm going to go to my y-axis. You can see my y-axis now, and you can see I have under my y-axis I have what values. So under values is now it is telling me display units. So I'm going to put it now in millions. So you can now see by putting it in millions now it is already in, and it's now easy to understand. So if I'm to click on a particular, year now, you can see that I'm able to see the revenue in millions. So this is more easy to understand using the millions than the billions. So the next now we go to our sum of revenue by year. So sum of revenue by year, I want to be seeing the revenue and the growth. So I'm going to be changing this visual now to this particular visual, which is called a line and stacked column chart. So I'm going to click on it, and it's going to give me a line and stacked column chart. So there's some fields I need to fill because it is a line and stacked column chart. I've already filled my, you can see I've already filled my x-axis, which is my date, and I have my column y-axis, which is sum of revenue. The next field I need to fill now is my line y-axis. So this is where I'm going to bring percentage growth, because sometimes in a particular year your revenue might be high, but your growth or percentage growth compared to last year might be low. So we want to compare the percentage growth and also our revenue in each particular year. So I'm going to click on line y-axis because you can see it now. But one thing I will need you to know is that if you remember, we actually filtered for the past, you can see for the past 3 years, because we don't have any data in 2022. So what I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to go back to my transform data in Power Query. And once I go back to Power Query now, I'm going to remove that particular filter. So I'm going to go to my sales. Once I go to my sales now, I'm going to click on dates. You can see this sign, this funnel sign means a filter has already been applied. And I'm going to click on clear filter. So it's going to clear any filter which I've already applied. And I'll now click on close and apply to apply this particular transformation to my data. So you can now see now that because I already removed the filter now, all the days are now coming up, or all the years are already coming up. So you can see 2015 all to 2014 up to 2021. Because we don't have any data for 2022, I'm going to now click or right click on this. You can see I'm now going to now click on exclude. So it's going to exclude this particular year 2022. So we have data from 2014 to 2021. So what can you now make sense now from this particular visualization? You can now see that the highest revenue was actually in 2021. Even though the revenue was high, the growth wasn't as that high. But in 2017, we had the highest percentage growth, because what we have the highest percentage growth, even though the revenue is not as high as that of 2021. So At times in business, your revenue might be high, but the percentage growth will not be that high. So highest percentage growth was actually recorded in the year 2017, and also in the year 2016 to 2017, a high percentage growth was actually recorded. So this is what are one of the things which we want our audience to be seeing when viewing our reports. So I'm going to now click on columns. This allows me to be able to change my column colors. I'll click on this particular drop down. I'm going to give it this particular, you can see this particular color, white, 30% darker. So I'm going to give it this particular color, and I'm going to also change the color of this line. I'm going to change it to black. So I'm going to click on lines, and I'm going to now click on colors, and I'll click on this particular drop down and change it to a black color. This is a darker color. So that's also actually called themes in what Power BI. So you can actually insert a theme or even create your own custom theme. So when you click on view, you can see a lot of themes. So any of these themes you click is going to actually change the presentation of your report. I can click on this dark theme now. I can see what I'm going to be having. So you can see what I'm having now by clicking on this dark theme. So you can see that I already changed some of the colors of my visual. That also changed the presentation of the overall background of my visual. So if you sometimes you can also have an organization's default theme which is actually used to actually include that particular theme into BI. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to insert our own theme. Click on this particular drop down, and I'm going to now click on browse for themes. So this is now going to open my file explorer to be able to browse for themes. I'll click on desktop. I'll go to my folder where I have my themes. I'll click on instructor. I'm going to click on data. You can now see the theme here. This is the theme folder which stores the theme I'm going to be using, which is Diad Theme 2. I'll click on this particular theme, and I'll click on open. So the theme was imported successfully. You can now see that already what applied the theme for me. You can now see the colors of this particular graphs now. You can now see the theme we already have. So this is the organization's default theme, and this is what the organization we are creating the report for. This is what they actually want. So now what I'm going to now do next, now since I already created the theme, I'm also going to import a background which I'm going to be using. So I'm going to click on my empty canvas. When I click on my empty canvas, I'll click on format your report page. So once you click on your empty canvas, you can be able to format your report page and import a canvas background, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to click on this drop down and click on browse to import a canvas background. So if I go to my data, I can see a background file here. This is an JPG file which allows me to import an image background inside my report, and I'll click on it and click on open. So, but you'll now be surprised, I already imported it, then what's happening, I'm not seeing it. So this is because the transparency is actually set to 100. So I'm going to reduce it to 0, and you can now see the particular background which we are going to be using. So this is where we're going to be placing our files one by one. So before we now continue, so we also have our slicer. I want you to remember that our slicer actually have logo links to their logo images. So I'm going to be using the logos instead of this particular organization names. So after since I've already clicked on my slicer now, I'm going to go to my manufacturer table, and under my manufacturer table, I'll click on logo. And other logo now, I'm going to change data category, which is under the column tools. I'm going to change it to image URL. So I'm going to let Power BI know that this is actually the URL to an image. Then I'll now go to my slicer settings and remove this manufacturer and bring in my logo. So once I bring in my logo now, you're going to see that this particular slicer now has already changed to the logos of the organizations which I'm actually using. So you can see the organizations now. So I'm actually going to reduce it a little bit. So to create space. So if you want to just view other ones, you can just use this particular button. So you can use it to view other organizations. So I'm going to just reduce it like this. So I'm going to reduce it like this, a little bit small. So I'm going to be bringing this to this particular position. I'm going to be carrying this table up. So I'm going to be carrying this table up. I'm going to reduce it a little bit. I want it to fit into this particular box, this particular space. Then I'm also going to bring this to this particular place. I'm going to minimize it a little bit. I will shift it here. You can see for that, this also belongs to this place. I'm going to reduce it a little bit. So that it's going to fit here. So this is it. And this also belongs to this place. I'm going to minimize it a little bit to fit into this particular place. Organization logo. So I'm going to import it using the insert. So under insert now, I'm going to be inserting an image. And I'm going to be carrying my organization logo. Click on open. So the reason why I'm not actually seeing the logo is because the logo is white. So this is the logo. I'm going to take it to this particular place. Let me reduce it a little bit. So this is our logo now, which I've already fixed in this particular position. So I'm going to be inserting now the title of our report, which is actually manufacturer analysis. So I'm going to click on it here, my empty canvas. I'll click on text box, and under text box I'm going to type manufacturer analysis. So I'm going to make it 30. Let me make it 32. Okay, let me highlight it and make it 32. I'm going to make it 32. So 32 is actually a little bit big. Let me make it 20. So this is 20. Now I'm going to make it bold. So can you see now that I'm going to be moving my particular text, this text that I've written, because I want it to be visible. So I'm going to be moving this text now to this place. You can see that I'm having some white border. So under the effects now, I'm going to be setting the transparency to 100. So I'm actually going to remove those particular white background I'm having. Then here I'm going to set the font color to white. So I'm going to be setting it to white. So I need to highlight it first. By highlighting it, then I'll now set it to white color. So you can now see the color I'm currently having now for my title. So let me just increase the font size a little bit, maybe to 28. So currently it's at 28. So I think this is a little bit better. So this is now my manufacturer analysis. So you can see now this title of this particular report. So under my view, let me make sure I keep my grid lines and snap to grid on. I'm able to fit most of these visuals into their portions. So I'm able to fit this one also to its portion and fit. And let's also check these visuals to make sure that interactivity between them is set at filter. So I can see for this particular visual, all the other visuals are having a filter interaction with it. So let me see for this visual, it is also the same thing. You can see that we're having filter interactions for all. You can see if I click on mix, all the graph is going to be changing. So this is it for that. So currently this one is set at highlight. Let me set it to filter. You can see it is at filter. And if I also click on this also, you can see the other ones too are also at filter. So you can see the grids that we're having now. So this allows me to be able to fit my visuals to the various portions on my reports. So I also need to, let me off the edit interaction for now. Go to format and off the edit interaction. Then let me now change the color of this graph to match what I'm having in this particular sum of revenue and percentage growth by year. So I'm going to click on the visual. I'm also go to my format your visual. So under format your visual, I'm going to be going to columns. This is where I can change the color of my columns. Now click on this drop down and I'm going to be giving this same color. So you can see now it's now matching with what we're having here. So I can also make the text to also bold. I'm going to go to my x-axis. So under my x-axis, you can see we have values. So I'm going to make it bold. So you can see I already made the color bold. I can just make this 10. Just make it 10 and I'm going to increase it a little bit. So you can see it now. I've already increased it a little bit. So I can also expand this and also increase it a little bit. And I can also make this text also bold. Let me go to format your visual. I can go to my data labels. I can click on bold. You can see it's a little bit bold. You can see it. I can also go to my target also and make it bold also. So I also make my call out value to also to be bold. So this is what I just did now. So you can just play with this format your visual and customize it based on your preferences. So one more thing that we also want to do, that's what we call the smart narrative. So a smart narrative is a kind of visual. So let me click on the empty canvas. A kind of visual which gives a narrative, which uses AI to give a narrative of your data. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a smart narrative. I'm going to click on all of these visuals I'm having here. I'll click on this, hold control and click on this, and click on this also, and also click on this particular one. Then I'll now go and click on smart narrative. So can you see the smart narrative? Now I'm going to now click on it. So you can see it is creating a narrative for me. So based on the visuals I selected, it's going to create a narrative for me. So anybody that's viewing the report can just see something like a summary. This narrative are something like a summary. So you can see it now based on all these visuals. So you can see the narratives. So let me shift it to this particular portion. I want to make it closer to the sum of revenue by year. So you can see my narrative now. It is just giving me a summary of what I have on my report. So So anybody that wants to view can be able to read this particular summary and know what is going on in the in the analysis. So we can also import custom visuals too, also in Power BI. So you can have a 3 button here. You can see get more visuals online. This allows you to go online and get more visuals. So, but we already have a visual file. We already have a visual which is already inside our folder. So I'm going to get that particular visual now. So I'm going to click import a visual from a file. So you can now see this play axis. So this is the visual I'm going to be importing. I'm going to click on it and I'll now click on open. So it's telling that the visual was successfully imported into this report. So this is it. Can you see this is a new visual I just brought in now? So I'm going to click on this particular space on my canvas and I'll now click on this visual, the play axis visual. So this is called a play axis visual. So under the play axis visual, now I'm going to bring in my dates hierarchy. You can see it here into the play axis visual. So which means I can be able to select various dates using this particular play axis. So if I click on play now, you can see it's going to be going through various years and everything is going to be changing in the data. Are you seeing it? So let me also check the edit interaction for this particular visual and see. So you can see it is already set on filter for all the visuals. So let me just see on this. So let me click on it and see for this particular visual. So you can see currently for this visual is highlighted. Let me set it to filter. So let's also cross check for all the visuals to make sure that they are all set on filter and not highlight. So you can see for all this they are all set on filter. Let me also check for this. So this one is set to highlight. Let me set it to filter. You can see they're all set on filter. Let me also check for this. So for this also they're all on filter. Let me check for this also, and for this. So they're all set to filter already. So let me just take this back to its position. You can now see that because I've already put on my snap grid, you can see it shows me a margin which I'm able to align my visual with. So now under my this particular play axis visual, let me reduce it a little bit. I'm going to reduce it a little bit. So I'm going to reduce it a little bit. So now I'm now going to go to the format your visual. You can see other colors now. I'm going to put on show all. So it's going to make it colored. So we're already done with this. So anytime you play it, your visual is going to be shifting through various years. Can you see 2015? If I play it again, 2016, 17, can you see it's going through various years. It's showing you the visuals for various years. So the next thing that I'm going to be creating now is bookmarks. So bookmarks allows us to be able to view various states inside our report. So your report is likely to have various states. For example, now currently now we're at the initial state of the report. If I click on USA, you can see that this is the report of USA. Can you see it? If I also click on Australia, you can view the report of Australia. So I'm going to be creating 3 states now. Initial state, the report of USA, and that of Australia. So now I'm going to go to my view. So now I'm going to make sure the bookmarks pane is going to be on. So I'm going to click on bookmarks. So can you see that the bookmarks pane has already pop up. So now I'm going to create my first bookmark, which is the initial state of this particular report, and I'm going to add it. And I'll now double click on it and call this initial state. So I've already created my initial state. Next, now I'm going to create that of USA. I'm going to click on USA. You can see that the report has actually changed to that of details of USA. Then I'm going to click on add. Then I'll double check on this and call it USA. So I'm going to call this USA. Then the next one I'm going to be doing now is that of Australia. So I'm going to click on Australia. Then I'll now click on add. I'll now double check on this. It's going to give me the report of Australia. So you can see Australia. Each of these states, when I click on them, you can view these states. You can see them, USA. Then you can see Australia. Can you see it? Now, I've already created my 3 bookmarks. You can actually add more than that. For now, I'm just going to be creating these 3 states. Now, what I now need to do next is now to create a bookmarks button on my report so that anybody on my audience that is viewing this report can be able to now access these various states. So I'm going to click on this crosshair and I'll go to insert, and under insert I'll click on buttons, and under buttons I'll click on navigator, and I'll now click on bookmark navigator. This will automatically create a navigator for my 3 bookmark states. So I'm going to resize it so that it's going to fit in this particular portion. So I'm going to resize it. So you can see it now. Okay, it's a little bit big. How to make it like this. So this is a little better. Now you can see my bookmarks button. So now I'm going to customize this button. You can see I'm under my formats, I'm going to click on shape and make sure that it's selected so that I can be able to see that format option. I'll make it a rounded rectangle, and under style or under colors or field, under field, I'm going to change the color to ash. So I'm going to increase the transparency a little bit. So I'm increasing transparency a little bit. So this is my bookmarks buttons. So now how can I be able to now access each state? Because when I click on it, you can see that nothing is actually changing. So the reason why nothing is actually changing is because when you are creating the report, you need to hold control. You that's creating the report, you need to hold control, and when you hold control, you click on the states you want your report to be in. I'll hold control now. I'm now going to click on initial state. Can you now see it? I'll hold control, I'll click on that of USA. I can view that of USA. I'll hold control, I'll click that of Australia. You can now see that of Australia. So this is how you that is creating a report can be able to access various states. But the person that is using it doesn't need to hold the control button on the keyboard. The person can just click on any of them and be able to access the various states. So now this is it for our report. I can see in it. So let me go back and click the initial state. So can you see the report now that we are having? So this is our report. Let me raise this a little bit high and raise this a little bit high. Okay, let me just raise it to this place and expand this a little bit. Then so this is our report now. This is our manufacturer analysis. You can see our slicer here. I can view that of Pirom. You can see it. I can view that of Natvia. Can you see it? I can view also that of our organization, which is Van Housdale, from our slicer. So this is it for creating the reports. What is left for us now is for us to share it on Power BI